Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lahu wa nashhadu anna sayyidina wa sanadana wa shafi'ana Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين صدق الله العظيم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك وارحم على عبدك ورسولك سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وسلم تسليما. In the deen of Islam, there is a concept of beginnings. And many times when we think about our plans, our goals, our life plans, our life goals, our dreams and our aspirations, there's this notion of a beginning. So let's take the idea of a week. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in an authentic hadith that because the Jews have their day of worship on the Saturday and the Christians have their day of worship on a Sunday, that Allah Ta'ala has selected for the deen of Islam that the main worship, which is Salatul Jum'ah, shall take place on a Friday. What we understand from this is that even before Islam there was a concept of weeks, and that weeks were divided into days. And just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had set for our deen Friday, it appears from this hadith, because Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not in any way suggest that this was a misunderstanding or a change in the Jewish and Christian religion. It means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had for previous religions appointed a particular special day of worship. So it means that this concept of weeks, of tracking time through the changing of weeks, is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to all of the Anbiya, or the major Anbiya, and this notion of passing of time is something that is very important in our deen. Similarly, before Islam, pre-Islamic Arabia already had followed the lunar calendar, right? And so, for example, the Ashur, the months which are known as Hurum, of sacred inviolability, in which you're not supposed to fight, that's a concept that was already there before Islam. And in the initial period, Allah Ta'ala in Quran also told the mu'mineen that you should respect these months unless there's a hostile aggression by the enemy in violation of that respect. So the notion of weeks and the notion of months and also the notion of year, in other words, all the 12 months passing, all of these things predate Islam. Then if you look at the teachings of deen about our day and the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set the times of salah, inna salata kanat al-mu'minina kitab mawquta. The mawqut is from waqt, and that means that indeed the prayer has been prescribed, literally written, prescribed upon the believers at prescribed times, right? Specific times. And that is based on the sun, and this all of us know, right? Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, all having to do with the sun, the rising of the sun being at its apex, the setting of the sun, the appearance of light, Fajr, the disappearance of light, Isha, alright? So this, again, all of this is trying to make us conscious of discrete moments of time in a day, in a week, and in a month, and a year. But then in our deen, there's a concept of time itself. Wal asri innal insana lafi khusr. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by asr. So asr means the zaman, time itself. Asr also means the passing of time, the waning of time, just like the time of Salatul Asr. And this is why the Hanafi understanding of what is the better time to pray Asr is more in line with the feeling of the passing of the day, which means there's sunset is coming soon, right? So Asr is that time when you feel the day has passed, the day has waned, you have little time left. And so all of our prayers, every day of our life, is also very time conscious. But as I was saying, well, asr, the passing of time itself. Now, this shows that in our deen, very briefly, that there's a lot of emphasis on being aware of time. The second thing that is in our deen is the concept of beginnings. Ibtida, bidaya. So, every time we do a sin, and if you make istighfar and tawbah, it's a new beginning. Hajj is a new beginning in our life. And for many of us now, emotionally, although this word beginning has not been used for Ramadan, but human beings emotionally, anytime they get a chance at a new start, normally it's human emotion that you have more vigor, more strength, more focus, like what happens to almost all of us, or all of us inshallah, in the month of Ramadan. We get refreshed. It also happens in our worldly life. So for those who are in the field of education, when there's a new academic year, because it's a new academic year, it's a new start, you start afresh. Or maybe even that could be true for a new semester, not even the whole academic year. For some people it's true a new month. For some people it's true every week. And actually for all of us it should be true every day. And this is why we begin our day with Salatul Fajr. And Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, he said in a hadith narrated by Imam Muslim, Sahih, that there are 2 rakats of Fajr are more beloved to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam than all the world and all that it contains. Allahu Akbar. And if you notice, the Salihin and Siddiqeen would then begin the rest of the day with some type of ibadah, dhikr, tilawa, recitation of Quran after Fajr. And if a person's schedule allowed it, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught that it's preferable, if possible, wonderful, ideal, to sit from Fajr to Ishraq in ibadah. Why? Because that's the beginning of the day. So there's no concept in our deen of January 1 per se as a beginning. There's no concept in our deen of celebration or commemorating or wishing Happy New Year. But I wanted to point out, because many people are pointing that out correctly, and I agree with that, but there is definitely much in our deen about being time conscious, and our deen acknowledges human emotions, that when you have a new start, a new beginning, change is an opportunity, right? Nothing changes between 11:59 p.m. and 11:59 p.m. December 31 and 12 midnight Jan 1. But there are many things in our life, many opportunities we have when Allah Ta'ala gives us a new beginning, gives us a fresh start, gives us an opportunity to change. And I've given examples of that. It could be every day, every week, every month, academic year. For some people it's financial year, and in some countries that actually falls in January 1, right? So their financial year or their tax accounting or whatever it is, it ends on December 31, and they calculate whatever their money. And so for them, yes, in that sense, January 1 is a new year, and it is a new beginning for them and a new way for them to be true to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So only in this very natural human sense. And yes, obviously, for everyone in the world, there is this sense and hope, and I'm going to come back to this a bit later, about the COVID pandemic and what will 2021 bring. And it's not actually 2021 is not bringing anything. 2021 doesn't exist. It's not an independent, it has no agency, right? Actually, it's what will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring. And Allah ta'ala, when He wants to bring His help and shifa, He doesn't wait for a year, right? But yes, in the sense of the near future, people are hopeful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send His shifa and inspire humanity with their aql to find a way to cure this pandemic. But it's nothing to do with the changing of the year or the passing of a year. It's all about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But yes, one can hope for that to take place within this calendar year. But I will return to this topic a little bit later. Alright. What I wanted to talk about today is this notion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being the best of planners, which is absolutely correct notion, but this has many meanings, and they're actually different ayat of Quran and especially different hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from where we can get this concept. But what we must remember is that although I'm going to be talking a lot about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being the most wise and the most perfect and the most merciful and the most just of planners, it doesn't mean in any way that our deen teaches us to be passive, to be fatalistic, that we should do nothing, we shouldn't make plans. And a lot of people unnecessarily raise this objection or have this confusion, which is not there in any sense. There's no sense at all that, if, for example, the extreme of this is the whole free will predestination false dichotomy and false confusion that people find themselves in. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners does not negate that each and every one of us are supposed to be the best of doers and do the best of actions and have the best of intentions and feel the best emotions and try to have the best character and be on our best behavior and try to have the best relationships. All of that is in our court. All of that is our duty. And yes, Allah Ta'ala has given us the best guidance, the best hidayah for us to make the best actions and to have the best decisions. Allah Ta'ala also has the best mercy and the best forgiveness to forgive us when we don't always make the best actions and the best decisions and don't always have the best behavior. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best in His knowledge and His wisdom to guide us again from His infinite fadl and karam, from His boundless, limitless grace and generosity, to bring us again and invite us again and inspire us again to the best of actions and decisions. But all of that is still on our court, and that is our duty in this world. So never ever think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being the best of planners means that I can somehow relax and not be the best of actors and the best of decision makers. No. That's it. There's no need to go in any further at all in this whole issue of free will and predestination. All right. The first thing is that we should understand the limits of our plans. The limits of our plans. And this is the major deception and delusion that a lot of people, generally human beings, fall into. They overestimate the power of their own planning. Even positive planning, even good plans. Even when we set good goals for ourselves. And we should know this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not just the best of planners, He is the definite, determinate planning power. Our plans are not definite, they're not certain. I mean, just a perfect example, right? Think of all the plans people all over the world made for 2020. Let's say if they choose to make their planning in this annual way, right? I don't think anybody on earth is alive, actually, who could say that what they thought 1 year ago, the way the year would pass, it has passed. All right? So this is just one example. And this is equally true, by the way, for this coming year. Nothing to do, this is not exclusive to COVID or pandemic. Every year, every month, every day, every moment, Allah Ta'ala, His power is ghalib. His power is manifest, is all-powerful. He is the most determining, definite, certain of planners at all times in our life. Again, this doesn't mean me and you should not have good intentions, good plans, good dreams, good aspirations, but we should acknowledge this haqiqah, this reality. We should submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His absolute power. Hence, for example, in Quran al-Kareem, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Now, there are many senses in which this verse should be understood and recited, but it also should be when we are planning. In fact, I would even say when we are successful in our plans, when we're actually achieving, accomplishing, attaining, everything is going just fine, and yes, we think, okay, it's great, I made this decision, I made this plan of action, it's working out. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. My plans are nothing, my action is nothing, my effort is nothing, my strategy is nothing. There is nothing illa billah, except by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So that's one way we should understand that all of our plans are subsumed, are to be submitted, fall under the plans of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now all of this, what I've said up till now, this is actually all human fitrah. We are understanding it from our deen, but Allah Ta'ala has put all of this in all human beings. And I think this is also a way a person could, in the right way, try to do dawah on non-Muslims. You see, the deen is the fitrah. What does that mean? That Allah Ta'ala designed deen according to human nature. Or in another way, you can put it the other way as well. Allah Ta'ala designed human nature according to deen, according to absorbing deen, understanding deen. In other words, all human beings inherently feel this concept. The concept of beginnings, of endings, the concept of change, the concept of planning, the concept that not everything I plan goes through, this notion that there's a higher power. Every human being has this in them. And it was placed by Allah Ta'ala inside the very core essence of humanity, which is called the fitrah. Why? For our hidayah, for our guidance. So then imagine if Allah Ta'ala put that in our humanity, and then we are the people who are Ahlul Iman, Ahlul Quran, right? We believe in Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We inshallah try to make the best ability to follow Sunnah and Sharia. And we don't understand this core fundamental teaching that Allah Ta'ala is the master planner, is the true planner. When actually this is something that all human beings should be able to understand and realize. So this is a very important aspect of our hidayah and our being successful on deen. Alright, so let's start number 1 with our plans for ourselves. So I'm going to be talking about a couple of things. Our plans for ourselves. Let me break it up this way. Number 1, our plans for ourselves. Number 2, other people's plans for us. And number 3, obviously, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plans for us. Alright, number 1, our plans for ourselves. Number 2, other people's plans for us. And number 3, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plans for us. So let's start number 1 with our plans for ourselves. Okay, let's talk about the good plans we make. So let's say, mashallah, somebody, wants to come on deen, wants to have taqwa, wants to make ibadah, wants to learn about the Quran al-Kareem, the seerah biography of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the sunnah. A person wants to change, has a plan to leave sin, has a plan to become better in character, has a plan to improve their relationships. All the good plans, right? All the good plans that we have. And we have to have those plans, and we have to make those intentions, and we have to have those dreams. Alright? Okay, then 2 things will happen. One of 2 things will happen. Number 1, many times, yes, we will have success in those plans. So remember that any time, let's say, we plan to do something on deen and we were able to do it, it wasn't us. It wasn't our plan. I repeat this again, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. It was number 1, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's guidance and inspiration to us in the first place. Allah Ta'ala's guidance in the Quran, Sunnah and Sharia, teaching us what deen is, and then Allah Ta'ala personally guiding and inspiring us to set our goals and make our plans according to deen. And then it was Allah Ta'ala's madad and nusra, His help to us to meet our goals. It wasn't us meeting those goals, it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's madad and nusra, His help and assistance to meet the goals. And then even you will realize in your life, and this is very important, that many times Allah Ta'ala, out of His karam and His fadl, out of His generosity and, for lack of a better word, bounty and grace, there's no English word that can capture this beautiful word fadl, right? To even exceed our goals, even perform better than plans. And it's very important we remember this, and we do a lot of shukr for this, because when I come to next is the times when our plans don't go through, or sometimes our plans mess up, or sometimes we have complete disaster. People make a mistake and they get distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or they say, why is Allah ta'ala doing this to me when I had the best intention, when I had the best plan? No, remember all those times that Allah ta'ala did let you meet the goals you wanted, helped you to achieve those goals, actually made you exceed those goals. Don't remember Ramadan. Allah ta'ala let you fast every day. But you thought that was you? That you made intention to fast every day of Ramadan? You thought that you were successful in fasting every day? No. That was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the only and only la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. It was only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who gave us that guidance and inspiration to fast. It's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who helped us to actually fast each of those days. It was only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who, out of His infinite karam and fazl, gave us so much reward and so much qurb and closeness to Him in Ramadan. That wasn't us. That was Him. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Alright? So even when we make good plans on deen and we achieve them, it's all about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes then, second, we will make good plans on deen and sometimes we'll fall short of them. Person says, oh, I made this plan to leave this sin in Ramadan. In the last 10 days, I made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will never do this sin again. And I really meant it. And you did mean it. I meant it. You meant it. We all really meant it. And then few months pass, whatever, some time passes, and you did that sin again. What does that mean? What does it mean? Allah Ta'ala didn't accept my dua? No. Allah Ta'ala didn't accept my intention? No. Right? What does it mean? So understand this very carefully. And then what the problem a person makes, what does it mean? Allah Ta'ala's angry with me. Or, second mistake, also a mistake people make, is that, okay, maybe I didn't make the plan correct, or maybe I didn't do enough dhikr, and that's why I ended up in the sin again. No. So understand this. When me and you plan, when human beings plan, right, we try to make things as foolproof as possible. And mashallah, I've seen this, it's a very good attribute in many sincere seekers and students of deen. Sometimes, some of us have this to such an extreme that an outside observer would even call this like OCD, what they call obsessive compulsion behavior, or really what, like being very, very focused on minutia, right? So we try to make things as foolproof, right? So understand something. It's not possible. You cannot make a perfect plan. You cannot have a perfect execution of that perfect plan, and you will not have perfect success after perfectly executing the perfect plan. It will not happen. Life is flawed, and we are flawed. We are naqis. We are da'if. Khulaqal insanu da'ifa. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remind us of that over and over again. So one of the aspects in ways in which Allah Ta'ala tests us in life, imtihan, ibtila, right, is simply this: to break our desires, to break our intentions, to break our plans. Not because He's angry with us, as a form of guidance to us, so that we keep submitting, we keep acknowledging our imperfection and submitting to His perfection. Because some of us might start falling into a delusion of our own perfection if we were always able to perfectly succeed and perfectly execute what we think are our perfect plans. This happens a lot. It happens at a juz'i level. Juz'i level means it happens at a small partial level. It can happen in one act. Okay, I had a great Ramadan, or I managed to do this, service of deen perfectly. No. The day you think that you pulled something off perfectly, believe me, at some point very soon, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show us our imperfection. And second, understand, now is not the time to become OCD and obsessive. Oh, I made this mistake, there was this flaw in my plan, if I did it differently. No, there is no foolproof plan. There is no perfect way you could have done it. Actually, Allah Ta'ala has a plan for you. And Allah Ta'ala will test you regardless of your planning. Because that's His plan for you, is to test you. That's His plan for you. Regardless of how amazing your planning is, His plan is going to be to test you. Now listen to this next point very carefully. Alright? The way I will explain this to you. Apparently, what we call in the dhahir, means apparently, outwardly, it will seem to you that test that Allah Ta'ala sent upon you came due to a lapse in your planning, due to a flaw in your planning. And I'm telling you, no, that test is coming to you in reality, in haqiqah, because that is Allah Ta'ala's plan for you. But apparently in the zahir, it will appear to you that test has come because you had a lapse or a mistake in your planning. So simply understand it this way, that your lapse in your planning is Allah Ta'ala's plan for you. He planned that lapse. He planned that flaw. So even if you think you figured it out, oh no, this is happening to me because of X. X was planned by Allah Ta'ala. There's no way you can go back in time and have planned it better so that X didn't happen. X was planned by Allah Ta'ala for you. And yes, this is how Allah Ta'ala, 99% of the time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen to keep humans in further submission, by the way. Allah Ta'ala has chosen to operate through asbab. It's 1% where Allah Ta'ala operates above the asbab, which is like his miraculous power, right? So if you're going to get sick, the scientists will tell you, you got sick because this, why don't we use that example, right? You got sick because the virus entered you, right? You got sick because this bacteria entered you. So that's the sabab, right? That's the way Allah has chosen to operate through asbab. But the reality is you got sick because Allah Ta'ala wanted you to get sick. And yes, because you're not worthy of a miracle, so you will get sick because of some virus or bacteria. Alright? Similarly, when Allah Ta'ala tests us, that test is going to come through a sabab. That sabab could not have been protected against if we had been better in our planning. Alright? Even if you identify that this was the weakness in my plan and that's how the test came, that weakness, yes, was planned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? Okay, I hope this is clear, but I want to repeat again. This does not mean, I'm not saying be fatalistic, be passive, right? This is part of the submission in Islam. Okay, let me explain to you this way. This is also a very important general thing now I'm going to tell you beyond just today's topic. In the deen of Islam, there are many places which is also part of our submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the deen teaches us to understand something at one level, but it prescribes us to take action on another level. The deen teaches us at one level, this is all Allah has planned for me, but it's also teaching me to act as if it is the effect of my own actions, right? Because if you act on that basis that whatever is happening to me is just whatever Allah Ta'ala wants, then yes, you will end up being passive and fatalistic and you will do nothing. Many times this is in the place in deen. So although my theoretical understanding of it is at a different level, the way I must practically behave and I must submit. Why? Because Allah Ta'ala doesn't want, He gave us knowledge in the Quran and Sunnah, but it's not to enlighten us or to use our aql. We will submit. We will do ita'at. We will obey. Our actions and behavior, our obedience to Allah Ta'ala's commands is not going to be based on our super enlightened knowledge and understanding of the wisdom of Allah Ta'ala. No. You can have that. You can go all the way up to marifah, inshallah. But your actions and behaviors will be pure ita'at. Ita'at. Wa ati'ullah. You will obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. You have marifat, you will still do ita'at. You have a lot of knowledge, you will still do ita'at. You know a lot of interesting things about this year, you will still do ita'at. You have kashf, whatever you think you have, you will do ita'at. Alright? You think you can understand what's happening, or you know something, you have insight, you have basira, you will do ita'at. So our level of understanding may be whatever it is, our level of behavior is pure submission and obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is also a way, by the way, that Allah ta'ala has tested people through their knowledge, right? And sometimes they think that through their knowledge they've discovered something special or unique, right? Some distinct, special, unique knowledge, and they think they can act accordingly, and they end up leaving in some subtle way the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar kabira. It's constant submission, constant obedience to Allah Ta'ala, constant submission, constant obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's His real plan for us. Alright? But that's coming in a little bit. Constant submission, constant obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, now let me use an example to explain this to you, what I just said, in a more simple way. A very important teaching in our deen is tawakkul. Tawakkul ala Allah. Alright. Tawakkul means to trust, rely, depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mistake people make is that they think you trust and rely, to do tawakkul, to trust and rely and depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means tarkul asbab, means to leave the means. No. Tawakkul means to adopt the means but still rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'll give you a very simple example. I'm sorry if I'm getting a bit theoretical first. I'll try to explain this more simply. So imagine if there's a group of friends, let's say our friend, me and Eunice, were driving from London to Dewsbury. Alright? So, if there's a group of friends driving in a car, and there are two types of cars. Let's say they're in a rush, they have to go reach a janazah or something. So if they have like a very big 4x4 car with, big steel and seat belts, so they're relaxed, they feel that they're safe. But imagine if they're going in a very old car with bad brakes, bad steering. So the whole time, right, they'll be reciting kalima and reciting salawat and hoping that Allah Ta'ala makes them reach there. Alright. Why? Because in the first example, when they had a very good car, they had asbab, right? They had worldly means that they were depending on. The strength of the car, the brakes of the car, the seatbelts of the car. And in the second example, when they had the old raggedy car with no seatbelts, bad brakes, poor steering, they did not have the means. So normally what you see in human beings, when they have the means, maybe they'll just make dua at the start of the journey, and the rest of the time they'll just be talking, right? But when they're going in the good car, right? And when they don't have the good car, the whole journey, they won't talk to each other. The whole journey they'll be making dua and dhikr. Alright. This is human nature. Allah Ta'ala is calling us to something higher when He tells us to have tawakkul. In the Quran al-Kareem, Allah Ta'ala describes this basic human nature. He tells the humanity that, look, when you're in the sea and you're on the boat and the storm comes, you turn to me. But when you come back to shore, when you come back to land and you're safe and secure, you forget me. So this is basic human nature. That when you don't have asbab, you're in the ship in the storm, or you're in the old car without the brakes, you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tawakkul is to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with as much focus and yearning and dependence when you have the asbab, as much as you would have turned to Him if you didn't have the asbab. Tawakkul means when you're going in the good car with the good brakes, to have as much ruju ilallah, as much dependence on Allah Ta'ala as you would have had you gone in the old car without the brakes. Why? Because it is Allah Ta'ala and Allah alone. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. It is Allah and Allah alone who's going to bring you from point A to point B. It doesn't matter what type of car you had. You need Allah Ta'ala as much as badly if you're sitting in the good car, as much as you need Him if you're sitting in the bad car. I hope you understood this. So tawakkul means to turn to Allah Ta'ala, depend on Him, rely on Him absolutely, completely, with full confidence, yaqeen, certainty, even when and while using your ability to plan and act and achieve and accomplish, etc. Alright? So this is the meaning of tawakkul. Then Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith, it's either in Bukhari or Muslim, it's in Riyadh al-Salihin, maybe in both, that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said that if Allah Ta'ala wants something to happen to you, right, all of creation cannot take that away from you. If Allah Ta'ala wants some khair to come to you, and if Allah Ta'ala doesn't want something to come to you, all of creation can't bring it to you. Alright? All of creation can't bring it to you. Alright. So this again is an example of the fact that it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plans that will become ghalib for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plans that will become ghalib. Ghalib means that Allah Ta'ala's plans will always prevail. This is a good way for you to understand this. Allah Ta'ala's plans will always prevail. Again, I repeat, still it means, it doesn't negate the fact that we will make plans for ourselves. Alright? So sorry, this hadith is in Riyadh al-Salihin, but it's been narrated by Imam al-Tirmidhi on the authority of Abdullah ibn Abbas anhu. And Abdullah ibn Abbas is one of the most prominent Sahabi narrators of hadith, and also the person for whom Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam made the famous dua of tafakku fi din, that Allah Ta'ala grants Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas anhuma a deep understanding of deen. Right? So it's a bit of a longer hadith in which Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam turns to him and says that, oh my dear young boy, I will teach you and guide you in some matters. Right? And amongst one of those things that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam guided him was that, remember, if all humanity were to gather and to try to benefit you, they will not be able to ever benefit you except by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if all of them were to gather and combine to try to harm you, they will not be able to harm you except by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? So here I'm getting ahead of myself. This was actually others. This is our second topic, which is others' plans for us. let me just finish up a couple of things on our plans for ourselves, and then I will come to this issue of others' plans for us. All right. So just the last thing I wanted to say about our plans for us is if we separate our plans in terms of our plans for deen and our plans for dunya. So another mistake that some people make, I don't know is it very common or not, but definitely some people make, is that we make our plans for our deen contingent, dependent, based on our plans for dunya. So for example, I will read more Quran or make more ibadah or spend more time in dawah or try to be of more service to humanity if ABC happens in my deen, if when things settle down, when things become better. So understand this, very important, that our pursuit of deeni plans should not be contingent dependent on our success in our dunyavi plans. This is a twisting. This is a twisting of what is asl and what is fara. It's a misunderstanding of what is core and what is extra. So if the world, hayat dunya, was the core, then yes, this priority would make sense. That okay, once ABC happens in my dunya, then I'll do X, Y, Z in deen. But all of us know that that's not the reality. Hayat dunya, the life of this world, is not the core. It's not the asl. Right? The asl and the core is my deen. So actually it means that, look, if these are things I have to be doing in deen, these are things I have to be doing for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I can't wait for ABC to happen in my dunya. And many times what happens is, okay, these three things may settle down, but there'll be another three things that coming up. There's always, dunya is going to be full of flux. It's going to have flux, change, conflict, opposition, heartbreak, betrayal, disloyalty. Dunya, it has all of these things. It's its nature, right? Dunya itself and hayat dunya, our life in this world. So our plans on deen, to succeed in deen, right? Our plans to be on deen cannot wait, cannot be dependent on success in deen. Otherwise, believe me, I'm almost 50. You'll reach 50 years old, and you will still have those. You will open up some old notebook of some plan you made 20 years ago. You say, Allahu Akbar. And I remember 20 years ago, I didn't do it then because I thought I would wait for ABC to happen. And 20 years have passed. Allahu Akbar. So our success on deen is not to be based on any success in dunya. So what should it be? It should be mutlaq. Mutlaq means our success in the why? Because understand this also, it's not anything in the dunya that's going to help you succeed in deen. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who will help you succeed in deen. And Allah ta'ala's might and power is not waiting for you to do X, Y, and Z in dunya. Alright? So we must make our plans for ourselves on deen, irrespective, what we call qat nazar, irrespective of what our plans are, what we're doing in the dunya. Alright? Yes, you could say this, that I may not be able to succeed in that plan until ABC happens in my dunya, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to make that intention. I'm going to start that action. I'm going to start the effort, because what I do know is that yes, maybe I won't be able to do it because there's ABCB problems in my dunya, but maybe Allah Ta'ala will still help me to do it despite ABC problems in dunya, because Allah Ta'ala is great. Right? And that's actually a better way. That's actually a better way to do it. It's actually better, understand this very carefully, it's actually better to have your plan work out because Allah Ta'ala specially helped you make that plan work out, as opposed to you strategically making that plan work out because you settled things in your dunya. There's no joy, there's no lazzat, you won't get any inner delight at success that comes entirely due to your own efforts. You will get a delight and a joy, and you will get another maqam, another level of shukr and qadr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you try anyway and Allah ta'ala helps you anyway. Right? There's a simple way. You must try anyway because Allah ta'ala can help you anyway. And it's not that you can only try when and then, and Allah ta'ala will only help you when and then. But okay, I explained to you now. Simple way. Alright. Okay, now, so this was all on this issue of our plans for ourselves. Oh yes, one very important thing. There's also another thing that we do. Allahu Akbar Kabira. Alright? Two more things that we have to explain on this. Okay, so our plans for ourselves. So up till now what we've been doing really is our good plans for ourselves, right? Whether it's in dunya or deen. Whether it's in deen or dunya. So in dunya it's the hasanat of dunya. You can make many good plans. There's nothing wrong with that. When especially proof is that Allah Ta'ala has taught us to make dua for that, right? Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana. Alright? Okay. Two very important things. Last thing on this issue of our plans for ourselves, and then inshallah we'll move to others' plans for us. Remember this, very important, that when we make plans for ourselves, whether in our terms of our deen and our dunya, that we did for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, according to the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, acknowledging, right, His mastery and our submission to Him. When we meet those goals, when we achieve those goals, or even when Allah Ta'ala gives us more from His karam and fazl, it's very important that after any success, we must have humility. And we must again do hamd, praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we must make sure, basically the key thing is we must make sure we have no ujub, we have no vanity or conceit or delusional sense of pride because we succeeded. Because that last part, that ujub, okay, that can twist the success, that can even erase the success of all of that. So this is a danger that some of us make. And sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to protect us from that ujub, or rather really I would say, maybe not to protect us, but sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure us from such an ujub which has come into us, Allah ta'ala will take away that success. Alright? Now it may appear that that success is taken away in the dunya, that success remains in your book of deeds, or that success remains in the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but now He has to break it to remove the ujub that has come in you. Alright? Okay. And the final thing for our plans for ourselves is sometimes we make bad plans for ourselves. So we need to talk about that a little bit. But that's obviously a whole separate topic, and we have talked about this many other times, bans on leaving sin, making tawbah, repentance, etc. But yes, we have to think now, sometimes me and you, human beings, we make bad plans. It means we have bad intentions, bad desires, and then we may follow up those bad intentions and bad desires with bad action, bad behavior, or we may have bad relationships. Alright. And this was not a slip, but this was actually something that we determined, i.e. planned, to do. Okay, let's say somebody finds himself in that situation. So this is then that point in their life that they have to make istighfar and tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? They have to know that the way out is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here again you have another meaning of Allah ta'ala is the best of planners. You have now another feeling with which to say La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So at this point, when we are in that situation, we say La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, that Yalla, I brought myself through my own quote-unquote might and power into this bad situation. I have no power and ability to take myself out of this sin, out of this crisis, out of this situation. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Allah Ta'ala, only You have the might and power ability to take me out of this situation. So the way out of our bad plans, our bad actions, our bad decisions, our bad behavior, the way out is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what tawbah is. Tubu ilallah. That you make tawbah towards Allah Ta'ala. We turn to Allah Ta'ala. The way out is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does that mean? The way out isn't some good plan by us. We cannot come up with a good plan and good strategy. There's another mistake some of us do. So we end up in a bad situation, whether due to our own bad actions or because Allah Ta'ala is testing us, and we try to counter-plan. You understand? We try to counter-plan. Allahu Akbar. Now remember, that I said that the difficulty and the test is Allah Ta'ala's planning for us. And if we're going to try to come out of that difficulty and test on our own, entirely, exclusively on our own, it's kind of like we are counter-planning, na'udhu billah, against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, and I think all of us can know and understand this, that there is no counter-planning against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no counter-planning against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? The way out is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The way out is now only submitting ourselves to Allah Ta'ala's mercy, making istighfar, making tawbah, turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, now let me say another thing. That the way out, when I say the way out is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it also means that sometimes, outwardly, apparently, it will look like from a worldly perspective that you're still stuck in that mess. But actually Allah Ta'ala is taking you out. You will be out of that mess when you are out of that in your heart. Even if you may be stuck in it outwardly in reality. And you will never be out of that mess, even if it seems that you are out of it in reality, if you're still stuck in it in your heart. I hope you understood that. Alright? So it's something in the batin. It's something in the batin. And the way out is turning to Allah Ta'ala in your heart, in your soul, in your being, in your feelings. And sometimes even in one night you can come out because you reestablish that connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're out, but it may take several months to come out of that mess on the ground. And when you do this, also remember, so now let me move to others' plans for us. Alright? Sometimes you're in a situation because others had bad plans for you. Alright? You never have to worry about other people's bad plans for us. So now we're moving to part 2. First was our plans for us. Part 2 is others' plans for us. In part 1, I first did our good plans for us, and then I did our bad plans for us. Now in part 2, I'm going to start with others' bad plans for us, and then I'll do others' good plans for us. Alright? You never have to worry about other people's bad plans for you. Alright? The first thing, because I already explained that actually it's not because it may appear that way, that it was the other person's plotting and planning and scheming and strategy that caused this to happen. The reality is, it's that Allah Ta'ala wanted it to happen, and these people were just asbab, they were just pawns, right? Yes, they may be bad people, they may have hasad, they may have malice, they may have spite, but you must leave their matter to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who they are and what they are is between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no benefit for you to do any analysis or diagnosis of them. You only have to do analysis and diagnosis of yourself. And you should know that Allah Ta'ala wanted this to happen. Alright? So because Allah Ta'ala wanted, the way out is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the way out isn't them. So sometimes you cannot convince, you cannot cure the envier of their envy. You cannot remove the enmity of the enemy. You cannot remove the hostility of the uzr. You can't remove the hate of the haters. So another perfect example. So you don't mind the haters. What does it matter? Because Allah Ta'ala is your lover. Allah Ta'ala said in Quran, Allahu waliyul mu'mineen. Allahu waliyul ladina amanu. So when Allah Ta'ala is your, both. So when Allah Ta'ala is your lover, why do you have to mind the haters? Alright? And that is one real source of hate, malice, spite, envy, hasad, boghz. Don't even look at that. Don't even be aware of that. Don't even try to repel that. Don't try to understand that. Don't try to diagnose that. Don't try to analyze that. Leave their matter to Allah Ta'ala. Even better, even make dua for them. But just ignore them. I'll give you an example. This is like Iblis. Alright? Iblis hates Adam alayhi salam. Okay. Now, when Iblis hates Adam alayhi salam. Now, when Iblis hated Adam alayhi salam, and Adam alayhi salam was removed from Jannah, right, due to the khata, mistake, did his hate for Adam alayhi salam end? It doesn't end. The hate of the hater never ends. Alright? He kept on hating Adam alayhi salam. Alright? Okay. Second, Iblis hates all Bani Adam. Allahu Akbar Kabira. He hates the non-Muslim as much as he hates the Muslim. He hates the sinner as much as he loves as much as he hates the pious. It's not that, okay, oh, the person is sinning and his plan is working, he's going to start hating them less. No. Iblis's hate does not lessen, it does not reduce, it does not fade, it does not end. He hates Bani Adam. Alright? It doesn't matter whether they sin, they keep sinning, they make tawbah. So today's haters are like the same. They're like Iblis. They hate. Nothing can change their hate. You have to leave their matter on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't worry about their hate. Nothing can convince them. Nothing will change them. Only Allah ta'ala can change them. Again, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There's nothing you can do to change them. Alright. Just like that, if somebody... So we were on others' bad plans for us. So this is that place in Quran al-Kareem, which originally, when it was revealed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about the disbelievers, right? And there are different places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned this. So this is Surah Al-Anfal, Surah 8, the last few words of verse 30. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa yamkurun, alright, wa yamkuruna, and it's referring to the, if you go before, alladhina kafaru, in other words, those who disbelieve, they plot. Wa yamkurullah, and Allah Ta'ala counterplots. Wallahu khairul makirin, and Allah Ta'ala is the best of strategists. So I want to explain this very carefully. This verse is not actually the basis for what is the title of this talk, Allah Ta'ala is the best of planners. This verse is specific and should still be held specifically to when other people have bad plans for you. So the example in Quran Kareem is when the disbelievers had bad plans for the original community of mu'mineen, yani Sahaba Kiram and Nabi Kareem radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in and Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Alright? So this verse is about this part, when other people have bad plans for you. Okay, then the word makr, because those of you who know Urdu, it has an exclusively negative connotation in Urdu. But in Arabic, it's simply a word. And unfortunately in English, many such words also have negative connotations, like plot, scheme. So that's why when we translate, it's very important. So just remember, listen again to the way I translated it. Alright? Maybe let me translate it again in a slightly different way. وَيَمْكُرُونَ, and they scheme, and as the disbelievers scheme against you. So let's make this a more general thing. And those who wish bad for you scheme against you. وَيَمْكُرُ, and Allah Ta'ala counterplots against them. وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ, and Allah Ta'ala is the best of strategists. So their strategy is neutral. So sometimes it is important, we should try in our tarjama translation, that the feeling or connotation of English words, to whatever extent possible, should try to match and map the Arabic connotation. Alright? So what does this mean? So again, what Allah Ta'ala is saying in the Quran al-Kareem here, in the lesson we're supposed to get, is that, today there are also people who will scheme or plot against you. They falsely think that their schemes and plots were successful. Allah Ta'ala is teaching us in Quran that it's all fluff, it's all in thin air. Allah Ta'ala is counter plotting against them, but Allah Ta'ala is the best of strategists. So one meaning of this is, yes, that Allah Ta'ala will protect you against their plots and He will plan a better thing for you. Second meaning is, however, that everything those people are plotting and scheming to you, it will happen to you. Allah Ta'ala, so they're scheming against you. Allah Ta'ala has plotted the same thing for you. But He is the best of planners. So what's going to happen to you is happening because Allah Ta'ala wants it to happen to you, because He's going to make it a means of khair for you, not because those people schemed it against you as a means to harm you. The same thing is going to happen. So that's another way you can take this and why the same verb is used. Alright? I hope this was also clear. Here, all of these things require more explanation and reflection, but inshallah you can also reflect on this, and hopefully inshallah at some point we can try to resume some type of online teaching so you have a chance to interact or ask questions and clarifications on these things. But it's very important for you to understand this, right? Alright. So these are others' bad plans for us. Okay, something that me and you don't know, but we should have yaqeen about, is there many, many times people have had bad plans for us or hasad for us, but nothing ever happened, and we never even got to know about it. But Allah Ta'ala obviously knew, and Allah Ta'ala protected from us. We can't even know the countless times this would have happened. So if it may appear to you that one particular person or one set of people had some particular bad plan or bad feeling for you, and something even bad happened to you because of that, immediately think, okay, but this is like 1%. 99% of the time, in a way that was unknown to me and will never be known to me, 99% of the time when anyone ever wanted to harm me, Allah Ta'ala protected me so perfectly that I never even got to know about their intention to harm me. So we should do shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, the perfect way you can understand this is if we go back to the other, what I didn't remember, our bad plans for ourselves. Just think how many times Allah has protected us from our own bad plans for ourselves. How many times have we made bad intentions or had bad desires and Allah Ta'ala protected us? He didn't let us follow through on those bad thoughts and bad desires. That's why Sayyidina Rasulullah said that if you desire and intend to do a sin but you don't do it, you won't get any sin. But then the mercy of Allah Ta'ala was what? But if you desire and intend to do a good deed and you don't follow up, you don't do it, you still get the reward of a good deed. Allahu Akbar, right? Just think how many times have we actually made bad plans for ourselves, had bad thoughts, bad intentions, and Allah, only in Allah Ta'ala, another meaning and another feeling of la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, that Allah Ta'ala didn't let us follow through. This is why that famous, and I can't remember now, one of the early people of Zuhud, who people now would go back and call him a Sufi, but it was before, Sufi was a Zuhud, a Zahid, one of the early ascetics and great people of wisdom and piety from the early generations of the mu'mineen, said that if a person could see everything that was on their mind was revealed in a platter, right? And people could see that, they would be ashamed. But ikhlas meant, and so they explained, ikhlas means to be truly pure and sincere, is that if every thought and desire that you ever had in your mind and heart was put on a platter and showed to people, you have nothing to be ashamed of. So what does that mean? But what do people see? People do see my actions. So it means there's a tafawut, there's a disparity. Okay, fine. I have to work on myself and make sure I don't have the inner hypocrisy. But I also make shukr to Allah Ta'ala. Ya Allah, I'm doing so much shukr to you that there is this disparity. Because if my actions were according to my thoughts and desires, and I have had bad thoughts and desires, then imagine how many bad actions I would have. How many times, Ya Allah, have you protected me from following through on my bad thoughts and bad desires, my bad plans for myself? So just like that, just like Allah has protected us so many times, countless unknown times, from our bad plans for ourselves, so many times Allah has protected us from others' bad plans for us. And if ever outwardly apparently appears that someone's bad intention for us is having an effect, it's actually because Allah Ta'ala wishes that to have an effect, but it's a wish from Allah Ta'ala to test us, to remind us of our weakness, to further us in our submission to Him and obedience to Him and remembrance of Him and turning to Him, and all of that is khair. Alright. So we don't have much time, but let me do these last two things. And so the last thing is others' good plans for us. And finally, of course, a little bit more. Everything you will have seen is actually Allah Ta'ala's plan for us. Okay, others' good plans for us. Yes, alhamdulillah, this is also a great benefit in deen. This is like Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ad-dalu ilal khairi kafa'ilihi, that the person who guides someone to good is like they did the good themselves. So that's normally understood, and it's normally quoted to encourage people to give dawah, to invite people to deen, to help people and guide people on deen, because you'll get the reward that if somebody else does good, you'll also get the reward for that good. Correct. But I also want you to understand this way, that it also makes us realize how much Allah Ta'ala wants these relationships to exist, right? Al-mar'u ala dini khalili. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam said that a person will be on the deen of that person who they choose to be their close, intimate, near, dear companion, called Khalil. Like Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was Khalilullah, right? Ad-deenun nasiha, wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. The dua of parents, number one. So the number one is parents. Number one is not Shaykh or Ustad. Number one is parents. Number one is parents. Alright? And the du'as that the parents make for the children, the good plans, good hopes, good wishes, good aspirations, good dreams, good intentions the parents have for the children. And then second, you can even expand, as Allah Ta'ala does many places in Quran, that there's a notion definitely of parents, mustaqil, separate, distinct, but also the ulul arham, just generally your relatives, your kin, right? So parents and family members. So that's one reason also it's very important in our deen to maintain good family ties, because the family members can have a very positive effect and can make very sincere, true, heartfelt du'as for us. Second is, yes, then your relationships based on deen. Whether that's a friend in deen, a shaykh or ustad in deen, it should all be under one category, the fellow mu'mineen. And actually it's supposed to be broad. There's supposed to be as much a mu'min. It should be every mu'min's good wish for another mu'min. It's not just the shaykh's good wish for their student. Right? Remember, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that none of you is perfected. Here, Kamal means takmil. None of you have perfected your iman until you love for your fellow believer what you love for yourself. Allahu Akbar kabira. Subhanallah wa bihamdi subhanallah al-azim wa ma arsalnaka illa. Allah Ta'ala did not send Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam illa rahmatan lil alameen. And you'll find so many things of mercy in the hadith. That's one thing also I feel, I wanted to compile this, I was thinking about this the other day, that these people who deny the Quran, we should compile for them the hadith about Allah Ta'ala's mercy and show them that people who deny hadith and only believe in Quran, right? There's this fitna, and by the way, this fitna has existed since one of the earliest times, that we only believe in the Quran. There's so many hadith about the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and specifically the mercy of Allah ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. Because if you only look at Quran and you look at the verses on the Day of Judgment, Allahu Akbar kabira. Like 99% of the verses in Quran about the Day of Judgment are just about the might and power and indeed, yes, the judgment and anger and wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's in the hadith where you find these incredible hadith about the mercy of Allah on the Day of Judgment. You can find generally, obviously, mercy of Allah in Quran. So these people who believe in only Quran and deny hadith, we tell them, okay, from the Quran, you tell me what's going to happen. Just from the Quran, you say only Quran. I say, okay, you say only Quran. I say, okay, you put up on the board, only from Quran, what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment. I will put up on the board, from Quran and Hadith, what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment. You tell me which Day of Judgment you want to show up on. This is a beautiful way to solve, to cure the mind of these people who say we only believe in Quran. Khair. Sorry, this was a aside. So, but what I was saying is that the Hadith have a lot of mercy. A lot of, Allah Ta'ala has manifested, meant to be shared, His revealed knowledge about aspects of His mercy. Certain aspects of His mercy only in the Hadith, right? And so this is one of the things about the benefits of good relationship, such as the Hadith where, a fully authentic Hadith where Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions the 7 types of people who will get the shade of the Arsh of Allah Ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. Try to find that in Quran al-Kareem. But understand, we, alhamdulillah, 100% we believe in Quran al-Kareem. We believe in the supremacy of the Quran over the Hadith. All of those false confusions that these people say also have to be clarified. Khair, so Hadith about the 7 categories of people. One of those are those who mutually love one another. Mutahab is from they mutually love one another. Tafa'ul from janibain. They mutually love one another for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so this is just a few examples from a hadith about others' good plans for us. Alright? So, and this is why it's important to leave that bad company, to ignore the negativity, to ignore the haters, to cut yourself off from all people who have negativity, to draw borders around yourself and protect yourself from people who have negativity. And on the other hand, to increase and deepen and strengthen and also to mature the good relations. Sometimes some of us form relations good, khair, lillah, fillah, for the sake of deen, but we form them in an age or stage in our life of immaturity. And it's important to deepen and strengthen that relationship so it matures, not to let it stay at that stage of immaturity, because then it becomes stagnant, and then instead of being khair, it can be actually a source of hurt for us. Khair. Now let me mention the last thing, but we have been talking about throughout Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan for us. So I think throughout we have seen Allah ta'ala's plan for us in this world, but the thing I say for the end, which is the most incredible thing, because Allah Ta'ala is the most incredible and perfect being, with the most incredible and perfect knowledge, with the most incredible and perfect wisdom, with the most incredible and perfect love for us. Allah Ta'ala has a master plan for us. And that master plan for us is to go to Jannah through His Rahmah. Allahu Akbar Kabira. That is Allah Ta'ala's master plan for us. Any and every plan that is aligned with this master plan, any and every plan that is done for the sake of achieving this master plan, any and all such plans have a chance of have success and have the madad and nusrat and help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The master plan. And according to this master plan, Allah Ta'ala, whose master plan? Allah Ta'ala's master plan. For whom? For us. And Allah Ta'ala is the being of all mastery and of all power. And He is khairul makirin, and He is the best of strategists. So according to the master plan of the being of mastery and of master strategy is what? For humanity to humanity. Wallahu yad'u ila dar as-salam. Allah Ta'ala is addressing all of humanity in Quran. It's hudal lin-nas. Allah Ta'ala's master plan for all humanity. Wallahu yad'u ila dar as-salam is that Allah Ta'ala is inviting them to the abode of everlasting peace and security, Jannah, through His rahmah. And according to that master plan, Allah Ta'ala has designed Deen of Islam. Allah Ta'ala sent us Hidayah, Quran al-Kareem, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all for that master plan. Allah Ta'ala designed fasting, Saum. Why? So we break our desires. I remember our Ustad, when in his Majlis, Shaykh al-Hadith, Sufi Sawri Ta'ala, he explained this in a beautiful way, that the two major problems that a person has is their desires of their nafs. I'm going to phrase it in my own words. The desires of their nafs and the ujub, takabbur, vanity and conceits of their mind. And he said it's very simple. Allah designed fasting, Saum, to break the desires of the nafs. So all day, you want to eat? No. So it's basically saying no to the nafs. You want to have afternoon tea? No. You want to drink water? No. You're feeling hungry? No. All day, so many times when a person's fasting, you keep saying no to the nafs. So Saum is a cure for the desires. And then he would say that Salah is a cure for the takabbur, ujub, what I'm going to call the pride and vanity of the mind. How? In Ajib, I had never heard it explained this way. He said that you place your head, it's a very simple explanation, it's obvious when I say it. You place your head normally where feet are placed. It doesn't sound as good in English. You place your head normally where आप अपना सर वहाँ रखें जहाँ आमतौर पाँव रखे जाते हैं. You place your head where normally feet are placed. And this is something, right? There are places, there are places we go to, you go in the mud to help someone or find something lost, but you wouldn't want to put your forehead there, right? Or there are many such places. The feet are considered, they're physically also the lowest part of your body, and they're also considered if anything, okay, I'll step into it for a second. If ever you had to make contact with some mucky, murky, right thing, it would be your foot. So you place your head where your feet are placed, so that your mind learns humility. And then imagine how many times you do sujood. And this is also one of many, many reasons why a person should really prolong their sajda. It should be a whole separate bayan on this, but it's very important to linger in your sajda. Relish that sajda. Sometimes feel that physical contact of the forehead with the ground, whether it's the carpet or whatever it is. Sometimes to press that forehead, sometimes to just think of Subhana Rabbil A'la. And that's something I've explained many times in talks. May Allah give me tawfiq and all of us also to practice that, to feel the feeling of the meaning, to feel that qurb. Allah has promised in Quran Kareem that make sajda and get qurb, to prolong that sajda, and also to prolong it also for this reason, to cure those delusions of the mind. My reality is not, oh, when I find some wonderful point in tafsir, or I made some wonderful move in my career, or whatever it is that people, that right, but whatever people do, the reality of my aql is when I'm in sajda. That's what my aql is. And what is that? It's a surrender of the aql. That's what sajda is. It's a surrender of the mind. It's a submission of the mind. It's a surrendering of the mind. Subhan. I'm nothing, my mind is nothing, my knowledge is nothing, my planning is nothing, my strategy is nothing, my wisdom nothing. Rabbi al-A'la, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is exalted. My Rabb is far exalted beyond anything that can come in my mind that my mind thinks. So salah is a cure of the delusions and deceptions and vanities and conceits and pride, takabbur, ijab, kubir, etc. of the mind. And Sawm, fasting, is the cure of the desires of the nafs. And Ramadan, mashallah, we do both. And really this year I'm already waiting for Ramadan. For me, even before Jan 1, 2021, for me it's all just waiting for Ramadan, inshallah. Really, we should all be waiting for Ramadan, anticipating Ramadan. I think this is the year when all of us have that emotional thing that maybe we can come close to what was narrated. I heard once or read once of some of the Salaf that they would spend half the year just waiting for, in anticipation for Ramadan, and the other half of the year just, enjoying still, like if you will, the lingering aftertaste of Ramadan. And so you may think Ramadan is far away. It's, 3-4 months now. We're 3.5 months away. We should be in anticipation. And that's salah and that's Sawm. But anyway, this is Allah Ta'ala's master plan for us to go to Jannah through His Rahmah. And He has designed Deen of Islam and sends us Hidayat to follow Deen of Islam for this master plan. And if we end on this, remember we talked about beginnings, right? And a new beginning is an opportunity to make change, whether it's the beginning of a day, month, year, academic year, etc. Let's think about endings. Allah Ta'ala is the perfect being, the master planner of perfect mercy. And what is His perfect ending that He has planned for us? Allahu Akbar Kabira. The ending Allah Ta'ala has planned for us is never ending. The ending planned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us is Jannah, is His ru'ya, is His vision, is His rada, is His pleasure. And the ending planned by Allah Ta'ala, the master planner, for us is never ending. That we should live for infinity, eternity, never ending, limitless blessings and bounties in Jannah, never ending ru'ya, maybe periodic, but it's still, math would tell you it's still infinity, never ending ru'ya, and never-ending rada, pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This subhanallah wa bihamdi subhanal azim, subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. What a wonderful plan Allah ta'ala has for us. What a wonderful, perfect, amazing, incredible master plan that Allah ta'ala has for us. That the master plan is to go have an ending in Jannah that is never ending through His rahmah and mercy that is never ending. May Allah ta'ala enable us to submit everything about ourselves for the sake of His master plan for us. May Allah Ta'ala guide us and inspire us to do those acts of obedience, acts of submission, acts of worship, acts of good character, acts of good behavior, improve our relationships so we can realize that master plan. May Allah Ta'ala out of His rahmah and mercy forgive us on the day of judgment, and may Allah Ta'ala enable us to get all of His mercies on the day of judgment that He revealed to us through His beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and through each and every one of those mentioned mercies, and through Allah Ta'ala's limitless unmentioned mercy. May Allah Ta'ala send us into Jannah. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Make dua, subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Subhanallah wa bihamdi subhanallah al-azim. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala abdika wa rasulik Sayyidina Muhammadin Nabiyul Ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim taslima. Ya Allah, Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, I ask that you grant our heart and our mind an understanding of Deen, a practice of Deen, the way you wish us to understand Deen and the way you wish us to practice Deen. Ya Allah, let us understand the dunya the way you wish us to understand it. Let us view and interact with the dunya in the borders and guidelines and caution which you wish us to have. And Ya let us have a never limitless thirst for Deen. Increase our passion for Deen, increase our hunger for Deen, increase our knowledge on Deen, increase our practice on Deen. Make us more sincere in Deen, make us more true in Deen, make us more humble in Deen, make us from your true salihin, muttaqeen, mukhlisin, mukhlasin, mu'mineen. Make us from your muqarrabeen, mu'mineen. Ya Allah, Ya Rabbi Kareem. Ya Allah, forgive us for all the mistakes that we've made in our life. Forgive us for all the grave sins we committed in our life. Forgive us for all the self-delusions and self-deceptions we had in our life. Forgive us for every false vanity, pride and conceit. Forgive us for every unlawful desire of the nafs. Ya Allah, we make shukr to you. How many times did you protect us from following through in our bad intentions and actions? Ya Allah, you are so Rahman Rahim. You are Al-Hafiz. You are Al-Wali Al-Waqil. You are surely, truly the preserving, protecting, guardian, caretaker over us. Ya Allah, we embrace your guardianship. We embrace your caretaking. We submit to you. We humbly ask for more, Ya Rabbi Kareem. Keep us deeper in your hifaza. Extend to us the power and protection even more of your wakala and wilaya, Ya Rabbi Kareem, and increase us in our submission to you, longing for you. Ya Allah, protect us from the sadnesses of this world. Grant us, Ya Rab, the happinesses of the akhirah. Ya let us orient our intentions, our resolutions, our actions, our desires, our dreams for you and in your name and for your sake, and to achieve, Ya Rab, our dream, the master plan that you have for us. Ya Rabbi Kareem, make us true to one another. Make us loving and loyal and helpful to one another. Protect us from ever harming one another. Let us have only and ever and always good plans for ourselves and good plans for others. Let protect us ever and always from our bad plans for ourselves and any bad plans we may make for others or any bad plans others may have for us. Let us be khair for one another. Let us be a sukoon for one another. Let us be a rahmah for one another. Let us be in an ummah, Ya Rab, an ummah of nusrat and an ummah of help and concern for one another, and let us extend that compassion only as a dawah to you, to connect people to you, to all of humanity, Ya Rabbi Kareem. Ya Allah, we ask that you inspire us, Ya Rab, guide us, Ya Rab, increase us our knowledge of Deen, knowledge of Quran al-Kareem, grant us tawfiq to recite and pronounce every word of Quran al-Kareem and every letter properly, increase us in our recitation of Quran, our translation and understanding of Quran, our tafsir, commentary, depth understanding of Quran, increase us our knowledge of the seerah, biography of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, increase us our knowledge of the sunnah and hadith, grant us the feelings of Quran, the feelings of the sunnah. Grant us, Ya Rab, tawfiq to make the du'as from the Quran and Sunnah. Ya Rab, orient our heart, change our heart, transform our heart, nurture our heart, guide our heart, protect our heart. Ya Rabbi Kareem, make us people of a'mal as-salih, correct our outward, correct our gaze, correct our action, correct our behavior, mend our relationships. Ya Rabbi Kareem, we have broken so many things in our life. You are the mender, you are the fixer, you are the one who repairs, the one who forgives. Ya Rabbi Kareem, we ask that you shower all your rahmah on us, all your maghfirah on us, and all of the ummah, Ya Rabbi Kareem. Ya Allah, we ask that you put barakah in our day, barakah in our night, barakah in all of our years, barakah in each and every moment. Ya Allah, let's be more careful with our time, more conscious of our time, more conscientious with our time. Let us live and spend every moment for you. Let us, Ya Allah, forgive us for all the years and years, the millions of moments that we spent in ghafla, in heedlessness of you, or that we spent even worse, Ya Rab, in disobedience of you. Ya Rab, put so much barakah in the future moments of our life that they can overwhelm and compensate the past moments of our life. Ya Allah, we ask that you accept all the du'as of any and all who may be listening whenever they may listen. Ya Allah, accept their true and sincere du'as. Grant us according to your fadl and karam. Grant us every khair that you know to be khair for us, and grant us the sabr and himmah, the patience and resolve and strength, Ya Rab, to submit to you and to be guided by you, Ya Rabbi Kareem. Ya Allah, we make dua for the ummah, Ya Rab. Send your rahmah on the ummah. Make every moment of the entire remaining life of the world until Qiyamah a means of barakah for the ummah. Keep the ummah in your hifazah, Ya Rab, especially those who are mazlumeen, those who are oppressed, unjustly hurt, unjustly kept in poverty. Ya Rabbi, we ask that you remove them from this oppression. Ya Rabbi, we ask that you raise from the ummah such people who can take out people from their oppression. Ya Rabbi, we ask that you guide the oppressors, and if guidance is not in their nasib, Ya Rabbi, we ask that you repel their force and make us a people and a place and an ummah and a planet of peace, Ya Rabbi Kareem. Ya Rabbana آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى على حبيبه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.